Hello and welcome to Positive Fandom. I am your host, Mmmm, and of course we have Russ Whitfield with us today. How are you today, Russ?
Oh, I'm great, thanks, Oram. How are you?
I am doing well. It's another beautiful day here in Long Beach, so I love the weather when it's like this. I so enjoy the summertime, so I am very happy about that. And of
It's
course, what is the weather like where you are?
it's a
What is the
nice
weather
day
like?
here as well. It's a nice day here as well. I've actually got the curtains pulled, but otherwise the sun would sort of be blasting into the room. It's really quite warm. So yeah, summery, and lovely.
Yes, and you have your Bruce Lee shirt on today.
I do, yes. It's quite a good quality one as well. My ex-girlfriend got it for me, and I love it. It's really nice. It was really sweet of her to buy it, to be fair.
Well, it looks really cool.
Thank
And,
you.
you and I were talking about Bruce Lee and martial arts last week. So
hmm
there's a lot going on in entertainment this week. There's a lot to talk about, Russ. There's so much to cover. I guess we should get started. But let's say hello to the people who are here.
Sure.
Um, Hello, Mario Lopez. How are you today?
All right, Mario.
And Tom Jr. Jackson, good morning to you, Tom. We are all goof people.
The man, the
Um,
legend.
Absolutely. And Tom has had a very late night. He did a show last night. Robert had a show, and
hmm
I'm sure Tom was modding on the show at 3 a.m. So I don't know how he's able to handle all of this. He says good morning to us, of course, and Retro Nerd Girl is
Oh, there
here.
she is.
Hello, Retro Nerd Girl. She says, good morning. I've got my cup of coffee ready for this stream since we've had such an eventful week.
We
That
sure
is
have.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable everything that is going on this week. There is a lot to talk about, guys. I'm
Mm.
looking forward to hearing all your opinions, especially you, Russ. I certainly do want to hear what you have to say with everything that's going on. Darth Plato is here.
Hey, Darth Vader. It's our way.
Absolutely. I know you guys say that to one another as well. We also have Mark Goes Blind Gaming. Hello, Mark Goes Blind Gaming. He says, hello, everybody. It's been a while since I've been able to catch a live one. Nothing looking forward to it. Good, good.
Mm.
Mark Goes Blind Gaming. We are glad that you are here this morning. And we also have Renz Tolentino. Hello, Renz Tolentino.
Hey, Renz.
Ren says, good morning, Russ, Tom Jr. Jackson in chat. Happy weekend to everybody. Well, happy weekend to you, Renz Tolentino. We certainly are glad you are here. Now, Darth Plato has a very important question. He wants to know, did England win?
They absolutely did. It went to extra time, and England beat the Germans 2-1 in extra time. And it's the first time an England football team, male or female, has won anything since 1966. So they had their bus parade in London, and thousands of people turned out to welcome them back with the cup. And I suspect a few of them will be getting their MBEs and OBEs and damehoods off the back of it. It was an absolutely fantastic win for the country, and the Lionesses have done us proud. It was a very tense game, a bit mean spirited in places, I have to say, but in the end, they didn't buckle under the pressure, and yeah, they won it. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. I've never seen anything like it in my lifetime because England have never won anything in my lifetime. So football wise, anyway. So yeah, it was great. Thank you for asking, Darth Plato. There was much
Oh my
rejoicing.
gosh. It sounds so exciting, Russ.
It
It might have
was.
been such an incredible game. I'm glad to hear that you won and look forward to the festivities, like you said, with people getting awards and everything's afterward. I love that kind of news. So that's good to hear.
Mhm.
And thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson, for putting up. If you enjoy the content, guys, do feel free to take a moment and support Positive Fandom here. You can go to the Stream Elements link and certainly give us a donation. We appreciate that. MCP Scotty says, good morning, all.
Hey, Scotty.
Well, good morning to you, MCP Scotty. MCP Scotty is a musician, and he does have a new album that came out this year. So drop that in the chat link, please, MCP Scotty, so we know, you know, people can get your music and listen to it. It is fantastic, and we're glad you're here. Tom Jr. Jackson says, "Are you on Twitch? You can follow Positive Fandom on Twitch." That is true. I am also on Twitch. And Jacob Ironside is here today. Hello,
Oh, hello, Jacob.
How are you? It's so nice to see you here this morning. And we also have BC, aka the New Dark Shadow, says hello, everyone.
Hello.
So it's wonderful to see you all here in the chat. You know, a lot of the people here, like Renz, who has his fantastic artwork, Retro Nerd Girl here, who has her channel. Guys, do check out a lot of these creators' channels and work. We certainly do hope that you will. It will be interesting and fun to see what the other creators have. So certainly do that today if you can. So Russ, what a crazy, eventful, you know, roller coaster kind of week this has been. We've gotten a lot of information about shows that are coming up. We've gotten some amazing shows this week. You had mentioned that you've seen one of them. I think it's Prey, which is a movie that has been highly anticipated. I haven't had a chance to watch the film, Russ, but you have seen it. And from what you've said it's pretty spectacular.
I did. I managed to catch Prey, and it's interesting. There's a little bit of a theme that's going on with movies like Prey at the moment. I wanted to briefly touch on the trailer for Cassian Andor, the new show.
Yes.
So the trailer comes out, and the trailer looks like it's just gonna be the best thing that Disney Star Wars have ever done. Like, it just looks like superb. It's not done on one of those in the round sound stages that that Mandalorian and Boba Fett and all that and Obi-Wan was done on. It just looks like this is going to be absolutely awesome. And then an article comes out where they start to entirely politicize this show and say that the show is not actually really about Star Wars at all, and the story is actually, you know, essentially an attack on the last president of the United States. At which point, I just put my face in my hands and thought, why did you come out and say this? Because if it's true or if it's not true now is kind of irrelevant. Now you've colored a lot of people's judgments against your show. You'll have people that are folding their arms. I'm not going to watch this, and I don't understand why they would come out and do this. I don't know who they're trying to appeal to with this. Again, it's a statement that is divisive. You know, some people like the guy, the former president. Some people hate the former president. Whether who the former president was should be entirely irrelevant to Star Wars. And yet, once again, they just can't help themselves but politicize something in current day politics that will age this show, date this show, if it is indeed accurate. Now, I don't know if we haven't seen it yet, so it might just be a load of nonsense from an activist actor that wants it to be about that. But I think the director, you know, this is what the director had told the actor. So I was very disappointed to read that, not because I particularly care about the politics of it, but the fact that they've come out and said it, which, to lead on to Prey, was the victim of this sort of marketing too. So the initial marketing pitch for Prey was about, you know, an indigenous Native American woman who challenges the societal and gender norms of her and all this crap. And it colored a lot of people against the film, me included. I just thought, no, not again. Please, just not another nonsense Mary Sue Wokioso crap fest. And the film was far from that. The film was excellent. I've seen a lot of commentators online actually attacking it for being a sort of Mary Sue woke woke film, and I don't know what film they were watching. You know, it's almost as though some people, some commentators can't climb down from that. They attack the wokioso mafia, if you like, for the one thing, but they can't climb down from their own prejudices and just to suck it up and admit, you know, you got this one wrong, because this film is excellent. It's shot beautifully. Um, it's shot in Canada, right? But it looks like a love letter to America. You know, it's sort of like it's huge landscapes. It's, you know, proper huge landscapes. It's reminiscent at the beginning of Last of the Mohicans. It's got that whole sort of chasing the deer through the forest vibe to it. It's got an excellent soundtrack. It's very the soundtrack isn't bombastic like the Predator music, you know, that you expect with the original Predator, you know, the Alan Silvestri thing. I did see in the credits that they do use the Predator theme, but I have to say I was on the edge of my seat, so I kind of missed it. But yeah, the soundtrack is brilliant, and the script is brilliant. Now, on a technical level, I'm talking about every scene, every line has a payoff somewhere down the line.
What?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really, really, really well done. Um, they just, and there's lots of symbolism in it, because the Comanches are obviously, you know, hunter gatherers themselves. So I'm not going to go into too many spoilers here, because I know a lot of people haven't had a chance to see it. But there's a bit where there is a mouse that gets hunted by a snake, and the snake gets the mouse or the rat, or whatever it is, and the predator gets the snake and skins
Of
the snake, and
course.
all that kind of stuff. And it's just stuff like that littered throughout the film. And the guys that made the film obviously know that your audience knows that the predator's coming, and the audience knows what the predator is and what it can do. So it plays with our expectations. It doesn't subvert our expectations in any way, shape, or form, but it plays with them. So you can hear, and you think, is that a woodpecker? Or is that the predator? You know, you don't know. And the sort of sound design is really, really well done. Um, the character, the main character, she's pretty good when she starts off, but she's by no means a ninja, and she does get things wrong, and she does grow and develop throughout the story. Um, there's a certain thing that used to appear in many westerns back in the 60s and 70s, part of the environment that makes an appearance in this, and I haven't seen this device used since I was a kid. I was quite pleased to see that particular part of the environment used again. I was like, oh my god, that's a real callback to when I was to when I was young. And the film has white men in it, and the white men in the film are baddies. They are trackers. They're French colonial guys who are hunting. I'm trying to remember the name of the buffalo. They're
Oh
buffalo
wait,
hunters.
is this set in a different era? Is this a
Yeah,
period?
it's set
Is
in the
this like
past.
it's
It's set in the past in the
Oh, I
1700s.
didn't know that.
Oh right, okay.
Oh,
I thought that was a given. Yeah, so it's set on the Great Northern Plains with the Comanche
uh,
tribe. So
uh-huh.
there's a whole lot of nothing. I was like, you know, 30 people and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles for them to do stuff in. And the thrust of it is that the girl wants to be a hunter and just isn't very good at it. And she there's a hunting party that goes out, and she sneaks along with the hunting party, and then they're forced to take her with her. And her brother gives her a chance to prove herself, and she fails utterly to do it. But yeah, so there's white men in it, and the white men are portrayed as bad, um, but they're not denigrated, which I was really, really surprised. I was really surprised from, you know, what I'd heard and read about this film and the way it was set up. No, the white guys are baddies, but they realize that they learn that the predator's out there too, and try to hunt it down as well. And so there's at no point are these guys denigrated. Yeah, they're disgusting. Yeah, they're not very nice people, but they're not denigrated, I didn't think. And I thought that the film delivered on every level. It is a worthy entry into the Predator franchise. I would put it second or third I think, of because you can't touch the original, and trying to compare anything to the original is a bit like trying to compare anything to Die Hard. You just can't. It's one of those films that stands apart from all others. But I preferred this one to Predator 2. I don't know if I preferred it to Predators, because I've got a lot of love for Predators, and I think that might be my second favorite one. But Prey is certainly up there. Um, yeah, highly, highly, highly recommend it. Wish it had had a theatrical release. I don't know why certain reviewers in the Fandom Menace are giving this film such a kick in, because they're seeing things in it that just aren't there. It's worth a watch, and I'm happy to start off positive fandom this week with something. For me, was positive. It had me on the edge of my seat. There was no point when I was reaching for my phone. um, if you want to nitpick about it, I would say, yeah, the finale, or the climax of the film, okay, it does the abilities that the person suddenly possesses. All right, they're a bit beyond the pale. But the Predator is also not in tip-top condition at this point either. So I'd say, yeah, it could be a bit over the top. But by that time, I had already bought into it, so I didn't care. I was happy with it. It was great. And as I say, the script, technically, the script writer, I wrote his name down and now it's gone out of my mind. I think it's Patrick Asen, something like that. Um, he smashed it. He absolutely smashed it. There's nothing that happens in that. Nothing is said or happens in that screenplay that isn't there for a purpose, or for a reason. I loved it.
That certainly, yes, it is Patrick Asen.
Yeah.
That certainly is a positive endorsement for the film, Russ. And I do just want to say hello to some of the people who have joined us. Hello, Ted Zagaro.
Well, hey,
Good
Ted.
morning to you, Ted. Glad you're here, as well as the Hidden. The Hidden is here.
The hidden appears.
Yes, the Hidden has made themselves known. Who else has joined us? I just want to make sure I get everybody. Cameron Montijo says hello. Well, hello to you, Cameron. And Stubble McShave is here as well. Hello, Stubble. It's good to see you guys. I'm going to go through all your comments for sure. As well as Simon Parkin is here. It jumped. Keely Chow too. Guys,
Hey,
just
Keely.
give me a second. Simon Parkin, hello to you this morning and welcome. We also have Norwegian Kryptonian. Hello, Norwegian Kryptonian. So good to see you as well. Dick Sargent York is here. Yes, you guys are making all such good points. We are going to cover all that. I just want to say hello to everybody. Keely Chow is here. Roll Tide, Keely
Hey,
Chow. So good to see you. Bear Down Adam is here. Good morning, Bear Down Adam. And the Outcast Creative. Oh, hello. It must be Lance. Hello, Lance. Greetings
Hello.
from Florida, guys. As well as Rogue Thinker is here this morning. Hello, Rogue
Hey,
Thinker.
Rogue.
Guys, you had a lot to say about this film. Clearly, Russ has given its endorsement. And looking at the film, it looks incredible. I actually like the picture they have of the young woman. She's got this green paint on her, like this, and I was like, that looks badass,
But she has it on for most of the movie. It's like it's a thing, and her brother has his war paint on, and one of the guys in the tribe has, like, I imagine I'm not an expert on Native American history, but his hairstyle looks really authentic. They look, they're a bit supermodelly. I'll give it that. They're not the French trackers are sort of pretty grimy, and I think much more realistically they look like they smell, the French guys, whereas the Native Americans don't. They do look a little bit supermodelly, but so what? As I said, I was in there. The film hooked me in, and I went in, not wanting to hate it, because seen Mr. H's review of it, and he seemed like fairly positive about the movie. So I was, having read the comments about it beforehand, the woman challenging gender norms and all of that stuff, I was a bit, oh, as I said at the beginning, this is going to be another lecture, and it wasn't. It was really, really good, beautifully shot. As it looks amazing. It looks amazing.
Wow. Well, Darth Plato says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to click on the Andorra's hot. We're going to get to that, Darth Plato, for sure, because there's a lot to talk about in regards to this. Let's see. I just wanted to say, Renz Tolentino says that he loved Prey, watched it a few hours before Sunday Brunch Live, praying a Predator figure will be made. They certainly are going to be making figures from this film, Renz. If not the official license, probably third party. So have no fear, Renz. And Mark Goes Blind Gaming says, I don't understand why Prey didn't get a theatrical release. Surely it would have made money, and it's a great film, and I'm guessing it didn't cost much to make. That's a good point. As well as Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington, hi Gary, says Prey was good and Bullet Train was so-so.
I've not seen that yet. I must get to see Bullet Train, because I saw the trailer for it when I was in the States, and it looks amazing. It looks really good. Looks really funny. So I'm quite looking forward to that one.
And Tom Jr. Jackson says, check out and subscribe to Retro Nerd Girls channel. Certainly do that. And also, Cameron Montijo makes a good point about never judging a movie by its trailer. Well, you know something, Cameron? We've been kind of encouraged to do that, because a trailer is usually the thing that gives us a taste of what's going on. But marketing hasn't been up to par, especially the past few years. We've gotten some terrible trailers that have not conveyed what the film is about at all. And then to compound it, as you said, Russ, not only do we get these film releases, but then we get these additional releases about what the film is supposed to be about, what it's supposed to symbolize. And what we're not getting are people going into the theater, making up their own minds about the film and coming out with an impression from the artist. And a perfect example of that was that film, I think it was called Wag the Dog, not Wag the Dog, but Something About the Dog, directed by Jane Campion. And she ended up winning Best Director, I believe, this year. But the problem with the film was not that it was a bad film. It was just that there were so many comments made about what it was supposed to mean. And those articles really did not paint the film in a good light. The film was actually very different for me from the way they described it. I felt that it was a very intimate journey in two people's lives that was incredibly provocative. And we don't always see things like that. The symbolism of him going into this underground cave area and having things that were important to him that he needed, that were important to this character. And, the realization of how he felt about this other person was something else that I thought could be explored. But then having someone else on top of it, make proclamations about what we should be doing and what you need to feel and what you should interpret it as was a killjoy, guys. And it seems like Andor is following in those steps, which is kind of sad. Stubble McShave says, been watching The Sandman and it's awesome. I watched, I think maybe one episode of The Sandman so far, and I agree. He says it may not be appealing to everyone since it's pure storytelling and takes its time. It doesn't have the fast cuts and big explosions that people want. Okay, that's also
I'm curious to see this. I haven't actually seen The Sandman yet. I've been busy this morning, and I had a rough day yesterday with my stepfather in hospital, unfortunately, so I didn't get the time to watch Sandman. I'm interested. I used to love the comics. I've got all of them, or I had all of them anyway. I think Sam's liberated those from my tyranny a long time ago. But yeah, I love. Sorry,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. What were you going to say?
Something from what I understand from people who have read the comics, they said that it's actually a very good adaptation of the character and some of the stories. So there's been a lot of happiness associated with this series, The Sandman, and you don't have to know anything about The Sandman before seeing it. Russ, that was a trailer that caught my attention right away. I loved that Sandman trailer. And I think that a trailer should still be able to capture your attention and interest, whether you know the material or not.
I think so, but just to go back to what Stubble was saying before about jump cuts and quick cuts and all that sort of thing, as a person who's read The Sandman myself, I wouldn't be expecting that from it. because you know it's a storyteller's story, as Stubble was pointing out. So yeah, interested to see it, and I
Absolutely.
hope it's good. You know, as Mikey Leto often says, you know, watch, you know, consume first and then decide. So jury's out for me. I will watch it and let you know what I think maybe next week.
Absolutely. And I will do the same. Tom Jr. Jackson says the young girl in Prey, Amber Mid Thunder, carries the movie so well. I watched it with the Comanche dub. There's a brilliant nod to the original film with one line in the film.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. Yes, there is, and there is that, and there is a nod back to one of the characters, which you see right at the beginning. So this is not, it's not a spoiler. You know, Billy, the tracker in the original Predator, has got the bag, his medicine bag around his neck. They use the medicine bag a lot in this one. They're always making them and carrying them around. So that was a nice touch. But this is not a film that is fun. It doesn't have member berries, and it's not winking at you at any stage like the last one, like the Shane Black one that we just had. You know, was a virtual comedy, you know, or at the very least a bad joke. This film takes itself very, very seriously. It's very, very violent. It, you know, maybe I opine too much. Maybe we've just been dealt so much shit lately that anything halfway decent I'm grabbing onto and holding onto it for dear life. But you know, the film takes itself dead serious. It's brilliant. It's just a really really good film, and I'd like to see the Comanche dub. I'd like to get this one on Blu-ray. Hopefully, it will come with a commentary and stuff like that. I really hope so. I'd really love to hear what the writer has to say, because the director will get all the credit, but on a technical level, the script was brilliant.
Well, you know something, it's very interesting. Now, you know, of course, I can't wait to see this film. Darth Plato says that The Last of the Mohicans is an interesting comparison. The ending of the movie blatantly distorts the history of what really happened at Fort William Henry in 1757. And Tom Jr. Jackson makes a point
I
of
don't know
letting
what
us
happened at
know
Fort
that,
William.
yes, letting us know that it's set 300 years before the first Predator film. I'm forgetting what I wanted to. Oh, yes. Am I going to remember what I'm saying here? I forgot. Yes, this is a good. Oh, yes, this is what I wanted to say. So, you know, Russ, you mentioned previous Predator films, and we have no choice but to think about, you know, maybe even go back and think about different Predator films that we've seen. And there was a film called Alien versus Predator that starred Sanaa Lathan.
Hmm.
And, you know, she played kind of this climber who, you know, gets trapped in one of the pyramids and has to fight, right?
Hmm.
But what made it not believable was that while she has great climbing skills, you know, I just can't believe anybody would join a party and be such a great fighter. For example, in Predators, they specifically chose people who were extremely well experienced fighters from different regions of the world. I hope I'm saying the right one.
Yeah, yeah.
Adrian Brody played one. Sonia Braga, I think, when we were talking about this before, Russ,
Alice Braga.
excuse me, Alice Braga played one of the fighters. There was a Russian man who was a fighter, experienced, skilled fighters
Hmm.
who had a fighting chance against this thing. And it was a most dangerous game version of it, which was fun to watch. But Sanaa Lathan in this environment, it wasn't believable that, you know, even at the end when they make a mark across her face, you know, they leave. And I'm thinking to myself, well, there's nothing there to keep her there. Why would she stay there? Her father's gone. You know, these guys don't believe her. Everybody's against her. She should have asked to hitch a ride with the Predator to get the hell out of there. And, you know, maybe they could revisit her character later on. But that made it unbelievable because she just picked up a stick and all of a sudden she was a warrior fighting these incredibly dangerous creatures. Nobody believes that. But you had mentioned that what made this film so appealing, what made Prey so believable, is the idea that she had to learn. She had to find ways to fight back. She didn't just have it inherently in her. Nobody does. And so, you know, this is some of the stuff that makes
You see her practicing. You actually see her practicing. She's got a tomahawk and she's practicing with it, and then you know, and she's doing all these ninja moves with with the tomahawk, but then it actually comes to it and she misses. That's not really a spoiler because she's trying to catch a rabbit basically, and she, you know, she's doing all this stuff and she's spinning around and throwing it and it hits the tree and it hits the tree and then she's like, oh yeah, okay, here we go. She goes after a rabbit and she misses it, but because she misses the rabbit, it gives her an idea to do something else that's quite clever that then comes into play later on with her weapon. And it's mentioned, like, in fact, what she does here is one of the other Comanches actually makes fun of her for this, but it comes into play later. As I say, everything that they do is set up. What does it say here, dude?
Yes, Uptown 2525. Hi, Uptown 2525. Hello to you. A dude predator killed animals for like 45 minutes of the film. Yeah, I don't know, but it's interesting. I'm gonna look for that when I watch it. Uptown 2525. And Ren says, if Prey was given a theatrical release, how cool would it be hearing those predator clicking sounds in the cinemas?
That's
Yes.
right. As I said, they play with you, so you don't know if it's a woodpecker, is it a predator? Things that it zooms in at times, and you're thinking, are we looking at the predator in its cloaking device, or are we not? It would have been, it would have been great. I would love to have seen it.
This is such a good point. The Hidden says, I wonder if Prey will tease another Aliens crossover with the franchise. I hope they keep making more and more and more of The Hidden. We don't want to stop. Tom Jr. Jackson says, the look of this Predator film is brilliant. Thank you,
But I
Tom, for
think,
letting us
just to go back
know.
to your point on Aliens versus Predator, what Prey does, that every more, not every, many Predator films has fallen into, certainly Aliens versus Predator, even Predators to a certain extent, and certainly the Predator. They've made the Predator, the Yautja, a character. In this, he's not. He's a monster. He's a scary thing that has come to kill you, in much the same way as Jungle Hunter was in the first one. We're not asked to understand it, because we as the audience know what the Predator does. He'll go and he'll find the deadliest prey to fight. So, someone mentioned earlier, and I've forgotten the guy's name, mentioned he kills animals for the first 45 minutes. Yes, of course he does. That's what he's doing. He's looking for the deadliest prey, and he finds it. So he sort of, literally upscales on every single animal he kills. I mentioned the snake, and then it's something else, and then it's something else, and then it's something else, until eventually he's fighting people with guns. So he goes up the train, up the chain of evolution, if you like.
And it makes sense, you're in a strange place. You find other creatures that you have to kill. That's what he's doing. He is, as you said, stalking or getting challenges from these predators, Russ. And the only way to learn is to actually have that confrontation. No one's going to hand him a book and say, well, this is that species and this is where it is in the line of predators. Or so it's kind of interesting that there has to be growing pains, meaning that they have to experience certain things in order to get to a certain point where you're going to get that prey that you're seeking, that challenge.
We don't even know if this is the first time the predators have been to Earth. They say that this is in some of the blurb, but there's no way of conveying that in this film, because Predator doesn't say anything. There isn't a "you're one ugly motherfucker" line, and there just isn't any of that in the here at all. As I said, it's quite po-faced. It takes its subject matter seriously. There's no yucks. There's no member berries. It brings respect back to the franchise, I think, after the debacle of the Predator.
Yeah, and Bear Down Adam says, good morning, everybody. Bear Down Adam is taking his daughter to see DC Super Pets in an hour. She is excited, and we are excited for both of you. Hope you enjoy that film, Bear Down Adam, wherever you may be. Now, I don't know if I understand this. Darth Plato says, Russ is describing no wasted motion. I don't know what that is, Darth Plato, but that's okay. Maybe you can elaborate, Darth. And
I think he's talking about the tightness of the script and how every line or every scene pays off later on.
Excellent.
I would guess. I've not heard that term, but that's what I think it means.
If that's the case, Darth Plato, thank you for letting us know that, because now I can add that to my list of terms that I'm learning. I'm still learning. I appreciate it, Darth Plato. No wasted motion sounds good to me. Stubble goes on to say, if Alien came out today and was exactly the same, it would be pillared for being woke. Right, because... yeah, it would. They would be like, who's this woman? Why is the woman the main character in the story? Why is she in her underwear? I mean, they made a big deal when she was in her underwear, but they would be like, who is Ripley? Why is she in charge? He says it thinks it's starting to get silly. It can be distracting, and honestly, it shouldn't distract you away from seeing a good film. And Simon Parkin says, "Good morning, guys."
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that.
Mhm.
What Stubble was saying. Um, it's probably one for discussion, actually. Is it because now we've come through this period of, I don't know how many years it's been, where intersectionality and all this, well, I'm just going to say wokeism because I don't know what all the terms are, have been shoved down our throats, forced into every single aspect of our popular culture, that now we're almost like a dog that's been kicked one too many times, and you just see something and you're instantly flinching away from it. Oh Christ, not again, not again. So things might not be woke at all, but as soon as you see, strong female lead, you're instantly cringing away from it, thinking we've been conditioned, we've been beaten into submission. So now anything you see like that, is you're going to get a reaction out of people who are, I would say, opposed to it, are fed up with it, maybe. So that's
No,
that's what I think. So to Stubble's point, if Alien came out today, if it was a new film, you're probably right. Oh, great! What? Yeah, another film where all the guys are idiots, and yeah, the girl survives at the end. Oh, and she saves the cat as well. Oh, brilliant! Isn't that great? You are absolutely right. That was the reaction you'd get. Oh, she saw Alien. You'd come away from it thinking differently, but you'd think that going in, or I certainly would. Yeah.
absolutely. And it is something to think about in regards to looking objectively at films.
Mm.
Even I have been asked to watch, I've watched so many films that I probably would have never chosen through the years, especially with my mother who says, "No, you'll like this film." And I end up liking the film. And I'm like, okay, it's all right. I was wrong. I do like this film. So it is true that everybody comes into films with bias and it's okay, but it shouldn't stop you from maybe having a good experience with a film.
Yeah.
So I understand people,
But we've
not
been
wanting to
conditioned
see.
not to. I think this is the point that Stubble's making. You're just so worried. You hear that there's a new Superman film coming out, and then you find out what they're going to do with Superman. Oh, he's going to be race swapped, or he's going to be this, or he's going to be that. So you're so conditioned to just react to any franchise now, and that's a shame, actually, because I think that message now is starting to peter out, as we knew it must, because there's only so long that you can continue to pursue an agenda that is not ultimately profitable, and I think that the numbers are starting to show that now, and you can certainly see it with the moves that they're making over at Warner Brothers, that they're not interested in any agenda other than making money. So they're cutting things left and right.
That's very interesting. Keely Chow says, speaking of Florida, please come to Lorraine's channel tonight at 7 p.m. for her Welcome to Florida show. Absolutely. And I know Lorraine is out there. Good morning, Lorraine, and good morning, Keely Chow. And also check out Lorraine's channel today at 1 p.m. for our rebroadcast of Toxic Male Appreciation on
Mhm.
YouTube, guys. So that's something else to certainly look at. Tom Jr. Jackson says, check out the Outcast Creative channel, guys. These are industry interviews. My very good friend Lance, along with all the other fantastic people at the Outcast Creative, run this channel. It is certainly a joy to see what you can find on the Outcast Creatives. There always something amazing going on there. Bear Down Adam says he's watching it tonight. Can't wait to see that. Russ gives it a recommendation. Absolutely.
I hope you
Jacob
enjoy it, man.
Irons. Yeah, Jacob Ironside says, I do have some criticism for the movie, but it was better than I thought it would be. One of my big complaints is the Predator doesn't look like a Predator. This is a good point. I mean, for a long time, we didn't know what the Predator looked like until he took the mask off, right? I mean,
Mm.
there's a lot of, just in general, there's a lot of unknowns about the Predator. And I think part of that unknown, although you mentioned, Russ, we'd like to go to the Predator planet and really kind of spend time there and learn. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that we're still at a point where there's so much, what is this, 40 years down in
Mhm.
the franchise, 40 years later, there's still a lot we don't know about the predator, and it's fascinating.
As it should be. Oh, I mean, I thought that scene in Aliens versus Predator Requiem was interesting, where you saw the Predator homeworld, because then you wonder what their homeworld is like. But as I said earlier on, this doesn't make the Predator's not a character. He's just there as the most. Uh, he's more like the jungle hunter than any other predator in any other predator movie. He doesn't have a character, so to speak. He's just there doing what predators do. They don't humanize him in
Mhm.
any way. He's
Nor
just,
should they. Nor
nor
should
should they.
they. The other thing too is that to kind of like humanize him or anthropomorphize the predator is essentially not having respect for their culture of how these creatures exist. So it's like to go ahead and say it's like, oh, it's so inhumane for him to do that, and to think, well, no, maybe that's how they survive, how they exist. Their existence is hunting, finding prey. Like, this is how they exist. And so to kind of look and try and interpret why they're doing that, or say they like, it's not only would it be bad, but it wouldn't give us this cool film that and the idea that we have. But something else, and I want to confirm this with you. Maybe Darth Plato knows. Maybe some of you guys are in the chat. I'm figuring Russ knows this. Marco's Blind Gaming says, great positive review, Russ. I agree with you 100%. Don't understand Disney advertise it like this. Now, the trailer companies are not the same companies that make the movie, right, Russ?
Often not. It depends on the budget, though. So a big budgeted movie, no, they probably have a trailer house do it. This famously happened with the Suicide Squad. David Ayer's Snyderverse cut, if you like, was transplanted by Warner Brothers, and it was actually the company that did the popular trailer with all the pop songs in it. They actually recut the movie, but that's my understanding anyway.
Well, it's very interesting to understand this and to kind of look at this, because, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what you're saying, Marco's Blind Gaming. I'm certainly not saying that Disney, in regards to your comment, what I am suggesting is that oftentimes, perhaps not in this case, but in many cases, there's a separate company that makes the trailer, and it's not the company that's made the movie. And so this is very interesting. We were talking about marketing. Hello, Dennis Mason. We were talking about marketing and what happens when you decide to put a film right into streaming, which is what they did with Prey. And we can all agree this would have been a fantastic summer blockbuster film to go see a Predator film right in August. This would have been cool. But we didn't get that, right? And why does a film like this end up in a streaming service versus in a movie house? And from my point of view, at least my speculation, I'm speculating, guys. I don't know if this is the real reason, but let's just be honest here. Putting a film onto a streaming service is a hell of a lot easier than spending $100 million on a marketing campaign, having all the stars show up, for the previews and all those different things, having it advertised everywhere, especially in theater houses, selling it to the different, cinema places. That is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Like,
that's a lot of
might
money.
even be, it's a load of money, $100 million in some cases. And it might even be a few months worth of work to get to a point where everybody knows what's going on and when it's going to be showing in the theater. And, the actual physical stuff that they have, like the posters and all of the stuff that they have when you go to the movies, and you'll see her, the woman with the green. I would have loved a big thing, in the theater where she's like, and you could that would have looked so cool, right? Well, so we didn't get any of that, but all that costs money. But it also is not just monetarily, it actually is a whole group of people who are involved in that whole process for the marketing. And so it's easier to bypass that and just say, we're just going to put it on streaming. I'm not going to say it's a horrible decision. I'm just saying that financially, I can see a studio saying, we're just going to opt for the streaming. We know millions of Predator fans will watch it if it streams. But Russ,
this is it. I don't think they had a lot of confidence in this movie, because the last Predator movie, The Predator, was lambasted as, and we all thought it was going to be the second coming. Shane Black was back. He was the guy, and we thought that we've nailed it. This is going to be a return to form. It's going to be, and it's literally the worst one. I think I'd rather watch AVP Requiem than I'd watch The Predator. I hated that, actively hated that movie. Yeah. Um, and it's a shame
Well,
because I like the actress that was in it. I thought she was brilliant, but it was just turgid. It was just so crap. But I just don't. I think Alien and Predator has a really really hardcore fan base. I know Prometheus made a big splash when it came out, but Covenant didn't do so well. And then you had the Predator, and then now we think it's really important, but I don't think these things are as big in as pervasive in the mainstream as we perhaps might think. So I just think Prey was actually a 20th Century Fox project. It had nothing to do with Disney. It was written, conceived, and greenlit under Fox, and only then Disney came in and took over. So I'm just not sure they were confident in it, and I don't really think it's almost they've got an Alien TV show now happening on, I think, on the same channel on Hulu. And again, it's been the news coming out of it has been very, very quiet, very, very drip feedy. No one's making a big deal about it. I think with Predator and Alien, perhaps they're just going to suck it and see. Uh, I'm not sure that we want or I want more Predator so soon after. Now, I just think this is great. Let's leave it now for a couple more years. Let's not instantly start rushing in. The Predator TV show into production. No, 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 no. This brought a much needed respect back to that franchise, and I think leave it. It was a great film. Just let it go. Let it ride for a while. Let's see what they come out with. Noah Hawley comes out with Alien. Um, that seems to be retconning a lot of the stuff that we know. And I suppose they don't care anymore. I mean, the Alien franchise is again pushing 50 now. The only two that are universally well received are the first two. So I don't suppose they mind about retconning it a little bit. So we'll have to see. Like Hawley apparently is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant creative. So we'll see what happens there.
well, Dick Sargent says, I'm glad it didn't get a cinema release, and I have a great cinema entertainment center. I'm sure you do. I'd love to see that one of these days, maybe online somewhere. Mark Bisma says, hello, all.
Hello,
And
Marcus.
Darth Plato says, some people don't judge a film until the YouTube talking heads get through it.
I've got to pick up on that. Yes, absolutely right. So I saw the drinker make some comments on this film, which are not in tune with what I thought of it at all. And then I saw a certain other YouTuber who will remain nameless. He might as well have just pressed play and record because he daren't deviate from what the drinker said. I just thought it was a really really poor show. Actually, yeah, you're quite right, Darth Plato. I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't care. I'll tell you what I don't have any channel. I don't have followers.
Mhm.
So when I'm talking about something like this, I'm just telling you what I really think. I'm really enthusiastic about this film. I loved it.
Well, I have to be honest with you. There are different types of reviews online.
Hmm.
And there are, reaction reviews. There are some people who all they do is analyze films, like Siskel and Ebert style
Hmm.
analysis. There are some people like yourself, Russ, who are screenplay writers and look at the screenplay very prolifically and make, very educated comments about specific things about the screenplay, like
That's
what
kind of you
Darth
to say,
Plato.
but I'm not sure I'm necessarily that educated. But thank you to say so.
Well, let's just say you've written a screenplay or two.
Hmm.
I've read and reviewed a screenplay or two. Let's just say that from being familiar with sort of what should be in a screenplay and what probably could be left out of a screenplay
Mm-mm.
are some important elements of that. And some people just say, I just want to look at screenplay. I think that there are some reviewers out there who might say, who are actual Alien people who love Alien or Predator and will say,
Mm.
well, this is not correct because what we've seen before contradicts that. That's another kind of review. That's another kind
Yes.
of review. And so there's different types of reviews out there.
Mm.
And even the drinker has done a review, and drinker, not that he would ever be watching this, but if he were, I have noticed that he has even shown films or reviewed films where he says, well, this wasn't a great film, but I like it, and I think
Yep.
that that's kind of interesting because guys, there are a lot of horrible films that I absolutely love. And so, I think that me admitting that the film may not have been the best film, but it was still entertaining, does say something about when it comes to an aesthetic for what you're looking for in that film. And I think these YouTube reviews can give you a sense of what's actually in the film without actually having to watch it. So
Mm.
it's okay, I think, sometimes to kind of like, you guys, you've heard Russ's review this morning. Some of you have posted in the chat your reviews and what you thought about it. All this goes into consideration. And it is good to hear some different opinions. And all of us have gone to a film with friends and family at some point in our lives where everybody might have loved the film and perhaps you didn't care for it. So there's going to be these different experiences when you go to the cinema, even going back to a film that you didn't care for or loved and having changed your opinion about the film later on. Just like a good book, if it's a good film, sometimes a film can mean something different to you after you've read it or looked at it another time. So this is something important. And I think that's why films need to be revisited like Retro Nerd Girl does. You should go
Yeah.
back and look at that and say, at the time they didn't tell you this, but hey, guess what? Eventually the film became something of a cult classic. So you just never know the impact a film can have. Simon Parkin feels that it should have been a theatrical release. That's his only criticism. I think that we need to have a hybrid. Let's go ahead and say, couldn't we have a hybrid somewhere? You really want to see it as a theatrical release? Why not in New York, the busiest theater apparently in the United States, which is on 42nd Street. I can't remember whether it's an AMC or a Regal or whatever it is, but I went there with Mike Alito to see a film or two. Why not just show, 10 screenings every once in a while so we can see these films on the big screen, which is what was the intention. This film was never meant for television release. But, honestly, when they create this film, they're expecting it to be on a big screen, right, Russ?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this was shot with what intent. I mean, just looking at it, and I've got a fairly big telly. I'm, I think what is it, 56 or something like that, 56 inches. It's big enough. But the landscapes, it was all, as I say, it was all Canada, but it was supposed to be America, and it's a love letter to the landscape as much as anything else. Like the landscape is a character. It's a bit like, like I always talk about Gotham City being a character in a Batman film. The plains and the forests and all this, that there are characters in this film. Aram, you've got to see it. Please, I'd love to hear your point
I'm
of
going
view.
to. I'm going to watch it. You guys know I'm going to watch that film. I absolutely love the thought of hearing different languages in the film from 300 years ago. I'm like, what? Oh my God,
Well,
if
the way that
anybody
they
who
talk is contemporary, so they do use a lot of contemporary language, and I don't know where I fall on that. I mean, I'd like to see the Comanche dub with the subtitles. That would probably sing a lot better. Like they talk, the French guys in it all talk in French, and if you don't speak French, you're screwed because you've no idea what they're going on about. So the Comanches have no idea what they're going on about, and there's one guy that can translate for them. So and again, no spoilers because you've already seen the French trackers in there, and I'm happy to admit I was wrong. Yeah, I really thought this was going to be some woke nonsense where. Eventually the predator and the Native American girl team up to fight the evil white man, and it's just not that. It's everything you want for. It's a predator movie. It's a proper predator movie.
Well, I love this. Rogue Thinker says, seems like the marketing was worse than the movie. Sounds like it is better than expected.
Mhm.
I'll have to check it out. Where do you think it sits in the Predator films? We're going to talk about that in a second, for sure. Marcus goes on and says, I actually been avoiding the trailer. It's been a much better viewing experience, but that's just me. And also, I wanted to mention, I have two other before we start to talk about this, or three others, Russ. Mark says, not too sure about the design of this Predator. Don't understand why they change it every time. You still can't beat the original, but this one looks are growing on me.
Yeah, I don't want to say what it looks like because I think that yeah, I don't want to spoil what it looks like. I'm not going to. I'll say no more.
And Dennis Mason says, Critical Dinker said, meh. Thank you,
I tend to
Dennis.
trust his reviews. It's just I don't agree with him this time. What I did find was when once he, Zath spoke the drinker, therefore a lot of people sort of fell into line with what he was saying, and I just thought that was a pretty poor show. Sometimes you've got to put your shield forward and stand at the front and go, no, fuck this. This was awesome, and I'll live or die on that.
And I just want to touch on this. Darth Plato says he doesn't think bathing was a thing in the 1700s. Before I get to Retro Nerd Girl's comment, Dennis Mason says, I do impressions of Arr during those long stretches when Rob and Lael are talking. I love that, Dennis. And Retro Nerd Girl says, I love how fair you are with this film, Russ. It's so easy to jump on the bandwagon of public outrage unknowingly. Thank you for your honest review. This is a good
Thank
point.
you, Retro Nerd Girl. Thank you so much. It's very kind of you to say. Thank you. Really appreciate
And
that.
I know Retro Nerd Girl is going to review or see this film. When you do, Retro Nerd Girl, definitely come back and let us know what you think about it. And for people who have seen it, thank you for sharing how you feel about the film here in the chat. I do appreciate it. Some of you were talking about the Sandman and about Andor. And I did mention something, Ted Zagaro, about what I thought about Andor. I felt that in the trailer, I'm going to make this short. In the trailer, they said it's time for, this is what makes a revolution. And I say that for this trailer, this is what makes a great trailer. It's a fantastic trailer. This thing looks fantastic. It's amazing. I'm very excited for it. I love the idea that Andor is kind of like, well, I don't give a crap what's going on with this. I can get in. I'm sorry, not Andor. Yeah, it is Andor. What am I saying? Cassian Andor. I love that he has this attitude of, I don't give an F about what's going on. I'm going to get what I want. I can get in anywhere. The Empire isn't shit. I can get in there. It's so easy for me just to stroll on in there. And the attitude he has, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Who has the audacity to say that they can stroll on in and pretend to be a commander or some crap? Like, it may not be a commander, but the idea is that he can infiltrate. But I'm curious as to how he will change when he starts to have a cause behind them. Because once you get people into a cause and a belief, suddenly the way they behave changes. He may not have the same audacity. Now he has to be careful. Now he cares about something, and now there's something to lose. I think I kind of like him being a little carefree and being able to go in wherever he wants to, do whatever he likes. Everybody wants to be able to do that. So now you're changing the character into somebody for a cause. I don't know. So that's the thing that's getting me about it. I hope they don't change that guy too much.
Well, we know where he ends up though, so I think
Yes.
what I was kind of hoping for until all this, it's actually about Donald Trump stuff started to come out.
Yes, there was an article about that. Yes.
Well, this is from the cast. Okay, they were saying that Lehman was saying, yeah, this is a a Trumpian story and all of that. And Star Wars, a Trumpian story. Please leave me alone. I was kind of hoping, and I still do hope, that this review has been taken out of context in the same way that the comments about Predator been about gender norms. It was taken out of context. I was kind of hoping that it shows the rebels as what the Empire see them as, and that's terrorists. Because we got a little bit of that in Rogue One. Like, Cassian Andor's a murderer. He's a stone cold, out and out murders somebody. And I was kind of hoping that you'd have this dichotomy where you'd get a stormtrooper or an Imperial commander, like who's trying to deal with this insurgency that's going on, and people are getting blown up. His men are being killed, by terrorists, suicide bombers. They did a lot of this in Battlestar Galactica. They really in the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, they looked at it, and I was kind of hoping maybe this is going to be that sort of gritty thing where you're going to see this story from both perspectives. You're going to see, one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist, and I'm kind of hoping that's the angle they go down. But in the light of the comments, I very much doubt it. But as Mikey Lee, I would say, let's wait and see until we start judging it. It's just left a bit of a shit taste in my mouth that they came out with this on the eve of the launch of the thing, to politicize it instantly. You're alienating half your audience once again. I don't care what side. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. A lot of people liked that guy, that president, and a lot of people hated him. And the guys that liked that president are now going to, if they're Star Wars fans, they're going to think, well, I don't really want to watch this because this is basically saying I'm a bad person. You are a bad person for liking that particular president. So you're alienating people from the get-go. And I think that's Star Wars should unite people, and it always used to. I mean, yeah, I say that there were a lot of fights going on between things about the universe, but now they've divided it along personal political values, and I think that that's wrong. But that's just me. That's just my opinion.
I think that if they want to go down this road, and I kind of did a video with Mike Alito about this, where politics fit in, is to show both sides, because there is no just one side, and we all know that. We need to see all different types of sides out there, and let there be other people who have motivations for different reasons. I don't care how, unusual or odd the motivation sounds. Let there be some variety. This is not a one opinionated world. Let's go ahead and have somebody F shit up in that series because they had some other idea that they were not expecting. And it would be like, you what? He promised you what? Yeah, let's do it, because that's how it would really work out. Maybe somebody who wants to rise up on the senatorial track, or, whatever it is. Let's see somebody doing something like that, and it's malicious or altruistic or whatever the hell they believe it is. I like a variety of people going in there and just kind of being movers and shakers. The last person standing with a flag in their hand is a winner, or so they think. This could be something that could have been a fun fight. But we just know that single point of view, it's boring. It gets boring.
Well, you
It's
know
kind of
what?
like,
It is. It really is. I think many people are sick of it. Especially if your personal politics are not in line with Los Angeles politics. A lot of people have just been fed up, been told that they're shit for who they are and what they
mhm.
believe. But to bring it back to Star Wars, there are so many fan films out there now that do look at things from a certain point of view. There's a lot of fan films, some really, really good ones. One of them made my daughter cry, actually. It was about this kid, this boy and a girl, and they grow up together, and he grows up and he joins the army and he becomes like an Imperial stormtrooper, and
Uh-huh.
she joins the Rebel Alliance.
You
And
have to share the link in the comments if you have
oh
it,
God, I don't
Russ.
know now because it was a long time ago when I saw it. But basically, they end up on
Oh,
opposite. They end up, yeah, it's like two little boys had two little toys. This is boyfriend and girlfriend, and they end up on opposite sides of this battle, and it's a really really tragic story. And then you've got Bucketheads, which is all about. I think it takes place on Endor. They all look up and the Death Star blows up, and they're like, "Geez, how are we gonna how are we gonna get home?" So you do see things from the Empire's perspective, and I'm kind of hoping that Andor has the balls to say that not all Imperials get out of bed every morning and are genocidal, homicidal, axe-wielding maniacs. Some of them have just joined the army because that's what they believed was the right thing to do. The Empire was born out of the Republic.
and and some
Joe
join
Joe
the
Soldier ain't
army,
gonna know any different.
and some join the army because of a girl or a boy.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And to be, Johnny when Johnny comes marching home. There's all sorts of different reasons, and it would be great to get a show that took an Imperial. I mean, I know they touched on it a little bit in Obi-Wan, with Indira Varma, but I'd like to see more of that. But we don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. Dennis Beeson says that I save my most eloquent things for Sundays. Thank you, Dennis. I so love that you said that. You're very kind, Dennis. I appreciate it. I did want to mention that Dick Sargent York says I have about 40 or so Sandman comics. Still need quite a few more.
Yeah, I got all the
Simon,
trade paperbacks back in the day, like in the sort of
wow.
90s when they were coming out. So that all of mine are quite old. Like you just buy them when they release the trade paperbacks. Because even in England back in those days, comic shops were a thing, and they're not so much anymore. I think there's the Forbidden Planet, and we've got one in Richmond actually, in the
Mhm.
town near where I live, but there aren't many left anyway.
Yeah, I remember those carts that said, "Hey kids, comics" on them. I know I picked up my V comics from
Mhm.
those in the 80s. Simon Parkins says loved Amber Mid Thunder and FX's Legion. Now, is that
I've not
the
seen it.
story you've been Oh, you haven't seen it. Okay.
I haven't seen Legion. No, Amber Midhunter is the lead actress in Prey.
Yes. Dick Sargent York says, I used to tell my sister, if it bleeds, we can kill it. I don't know what accent I should be saying that, and I'm sure there's an
Arnie's.
accent. Oh, it should be? Okay.
Yeah, but
Well,
I
maybe.
can't I
Can
can't
you
do
do it,
Arnie's
Russ?
accent.
No.
No, no.
And Dennis Mason says, everybody needs a medicine bag, but no one can tell you how.
Yeah, but
Something
even the
sometimes,
medicine bag has a payoff. Even that has a payoff in this film. I'm telling you guys, it's great.
yes. And sometimes we need to see things from other cultures that have meaning perhaps even more meaning to them than it would to us, because we
Mm.
don't know everything from 300 years ago, let's say, speculatively speaking. We
Mhm.
can't understand the significance of that to that particular culture at that time. That might be, you know, the most incredible thing ever. And I think it's important to see these signs for them to point out certain things that you see. Clearly, it has some significance, or else we wouldn't see it.
Mm.
Simon Parkins says he's hoping for those 6-scale prey figures, Naru versus Predator. I think we will get them. Like I said, yes, Tom, I will breathe. I am breathing, Tom. I know we're going to get those figures, guys, or third-party figures going down the line. And I did just want to say hello to KEK44, who says, good morning. Hello. Nice to see you. Mark Goes Blind Gaming says, I was excited for the Sandman as it looked great, but unfortunately it's been interfered with in the wrong kind of way. Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. We're going to look for that. I didn't know that. And I'm
I've not
actually
seen it,
thinking
Mark.
about casting.
Mm.
I think Mark Goes
Don't know.
Blind.
Haven't seen it. So I'm not sure.
Ted Zagaro says, I hate Predators because in the trailer at the time they show dozens of laser sights from Predators on Brody's chest in the trailer. But in the movie, it's only 2 lasers. Was expecting a Pred army. Now, this is something very interesting, and I do want to ask you something about this, Russ.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they do take creative license in advertising. Like maybe you'll see a poster and the person looks enormous, and then you might see another character and they're smaller. But in actuality, we know when we see the film, the person isn't smaller. We know that. It's for advertising purposes so that you can see maybe more detail in the character, or maybe you'll see a face of the Predator, and then the guy who's the hero will be standing next to the face with a gun.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see certain types of artistic license that they give people to do advertisements, to do trailers. Was Ted misled about all of it?
Absolutely. I think that's a really famous one, Ted, isn't it? You know, and I rather think they did that right at the end of the trailer to underscore the name of the film was Predators. And I guess, and I'm spitballing, but I'm just thinking about it now. Remember Aliens, and we got hundreds of aliens. So I guess the idea was to sucker us in, thinking that there was more predators than there were. But I gotta say, man, that aside, I can forgive it that I really loved that film. Like it's my second favorite Predator film, and I know that everyone says Predator 2 is better, and they're entitled to their opinion. I'm just saying, from my perspective, I have watched Predators many more times than I've watched Predator 2, and I love Predator 2, but it's just I just prefer that one.
Yeah, I love Predators, and that's the one with Adrian Brody, right, Russ?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I absolutely love that film. I actually love the fact that we don't know anything for a while.
Yes.
In other words, but they're not stupid. In other words, as they arrive, they're not stupid. But the cleverest one, and Russ, you might have mentioned this, is the other American guy who won't, like, he's a talker. He's very chatty, and he's doing that to kind of fish out information from everybody, right? But
Exactly.
they don't, I think Adrian Brody is aware of it, but everybody else is maybe a lot of them know that, but he's just doing that to offset them. He's going to do that as long as he can, so they never have to ask him a question, because he'll kind of distract and stray away from the point. But I love that they put these characters together that are as interesting as the Predator himself or herself, or whatever this Predator is, this alien that is just so amazing.
I can address this one. Sorry, do you want to go back?
I'm sorry.
I can address that. She doesn't. She's not a hunter. The rest of them do have bows and arrows. She sneaks out onto the hunting party. So yeah, you'll see that the actual hunters have got an array of weapons, and they all have bows and arrows. So that, again, no spoilers. I'm not going to tell you how they use and what the Predator does to combat all of this stuff. I'm just saying she has to improvise with the weapon that she's got.
Yeah, and the Predators might be the fact that the soldiers, or let's say the ones who were hunted, Adrian Brody, Sonia Braga, that they are also predators. So that's
the whole point. Yes, that's
right?
literally they say that in the film. You know that
Yes.
that they are. They're the sort of
I
apex
stress
predators. And what I loved about Predators as well is it actually acknowledges Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie. They actually Alice Braga sort of talks about it in the film. You know, Brody's like, you know, what the hell's going on? And she says, look, you know, this is what I heard. You know,
and
in 1987 in Valverde, this happened. You know, etc. etc.
and who was the woman who was with Arnold? Because there was a woman there, right? A South
Yes,
American woman.
yeah. Get
Do
to
we
the
know who that
chopper.
actress was? I'm
I
sorry.
can't. I think that she was the one that was told to get to the chopper. That was who he was
Okay.
talking to. Um,
I
oh God,
loved that they did that because it meant that the story would perhaps go just like what we saw with it would continue on the story, the legend of what happened.
and
That
it does.
that gave it the
There's a game that
potential.
came out. I think it's called Primal Hunt, and it's really funny because just before this show, something popped up in my YouTube feed about this, about Old Man Dutch. And what we find out is when Dutch goes away in that helicopter, he's instantly sort of, you know, locked down because he's found the, you know, an alien presence. Um,
Mhm.
and he's ends up with sort of radiation poisoning and things like that. But then they do something, and he ends up getting sort of like not superpowers, but his life ends up getting prolonged by the introduction of I think predator blood or something like that they do to him. I can't
Wow.
remember. But anyway, it turns out that Dutch has been on a sort of lifelong quest to he's obsessed with the predator now. It's affected him so badly, and he's trying to hunt it down. And some, you know, you were talking about the YouTubers that are massive aliens fans. There's one thing called Acid Flow or something
Mhm.
like that. It's not Alien Theory. A guy called
Mhm.
Acid Flow, and he's basically cut together all of the cut scenes or the cut tapes from read by Arnold Schwarzenegger, telling Dutch's story of what happened to Dutch from 1987 up to present day as it was at the time. So definitely worth a watch or a listen.
No, you have to remind me who that YouTuber is because
Mm.
I like
I
Alien
think it's acid. I
Theory.
think it's Acid Glow. I
I
think is
like
his name.
Project Acheron, and you said
Yeah,
Acid Flow.
yeah. I think it's Acid Glow. I think it is. I think is his name.
I also like Croft, although he doesn't necessarily speculate as much. Croft, who's
Is
another,
Croft still going? I haven't seen
I
any. I mean,
don't think
I'm
so, but
subscribed to Croft, but I haven't heard from him in ages. Alien Theory went quiet for a while, and
yeah.
then now he's popped back up again. I love listening to him. He's got, you know, he should do ebooks. He's got one of those voices, isn't he? You could just listen to him
Mhm.
all day long. I love it when he does his
Absolutely.
when he reads out the comics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
I watched all the comics from his,
Mm.
comic,
Yeah, yeah,
video
yeah.
comic thing. But I also like Project Acheron because they'll come up with
Mm.
something and say, "Oh, was this more strong than that?" And like these ideas of debating stuff. And I'm like, "Well, I have no idea. I wasn't quite sure." Some of the audiobooks are great too, but I haven't been listening to that as much as I watch the YouTube guys. Mark Goes Blind Gaming says nothing wrong with gay characters. So this is what happened in Sandman, but you wouldn't even know the characters were gay if they didn't point it out. Very true. Tom Jr. Jackson says it should be noted that they did have a member of the Comanche Nation as a member of the crew and a consultant. The film shows so much respect to that nation and it's dedicated to them. That is
Yes, it is. Yeah, at
wonderful.
the end, yeah, absolutely, it is. Um, yeah, again, I can't. The soundtrack works so well with this movie as well.
Yes, and the sexuality of characters do not need to be in reference if it plays part in the story, especially if you don't see romance. Agreed, Marco's Blind
Agreed.
Gaming. Um, Tom says my mom would have fun with this film. It's a good action film, keeps you on the edge of your seat. That is what Prey is, a good popcorn
It's
film.
very violent. It
Uh,
really is violent. There's tons of blood. Like there's one scene where you see a lot of blood. I It does suffer a little bit from its budget in terms of its CGI, but as I say, when a film draws you in like Prey drew me in personally, you forgive a lot of its budgetary constraints. If you like, the CGI is not the best in this movie. No, it's not. But I forgave it.
yes, and Bloodsport One says good morning. Good morning to you, Bloodsport One.
The man with the
Good to
best
see
handle on the internet.
and I'm probably am going to subject my mother to seeing Prey. She does not know it yet.
Mhm.
As you know, she watches Turner Classics 24/7. If she could stay up 24/7, she would watch it. So she's going to say, "Well, what is this?" And I'm like, "It's a Predator film." Oh, okay. like because
Well,
she
don't tell her
knows
what it
now.
is. I mean, I think if she's seen Predator,
Oh yeah.
if she has seen that one, just don't say anything. Just say this is like a prequel to a film that we both really like. Let's see what you think, because I think it'd be great. This is the whole thing. The whole thing about the original Predator was not knowing anything about it. Like, we just had no idea what was going to happen, and it's almost like From Dusk Till Dawn turning from a sort of road trip into a vampire horror, in the same way that Predator turns into a action movie into a sort of slasher horror movie. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and Darth Plato makes a good point about this, that people don't like change in general, and the new Battlestar Galactica got complaints because multiple characters were race and gender swapped, but they do actually have quite a fandom from
They
that.
do now. I remember there was a big kickoff about Starbuck being female back at the time, because that was a time before woke, wasn't it? 2003, 2004. So it was quite a big deal having a female character. Um, was there a point in swapping Starbuck? Probably not. But Katie Sackhoff, that started her journey as one of the most beloved people in nerddom. I mean, we all love Katie, don't we? And
Yes.
she's pretty much she was in that West sort of semi like modern Western program, but pretty much she's done a fair bit of sci-fi. She was in Riddick. She was in that one sci-fi show. I think it was on Amazon Prime. And I saw it. And I can't remember anything about it. It had like a I can't remember a thing about it. But there we go. Something to do with an alien landing, I think. Anyway, we move on.
Yes. Stubble asked Tom, "Do you get any sleep? Every time I'm online, I see you riding the digital waste." To which Tom says, "Stubble, I did sleep a bit before Rob's show last night and after it." So he does. Retro Nerd Girl says, "I would love a movie on the Predator homeworld. I can imagine that there is a faction of peace loving of their own kind that oppose their ways and violence, and you could call it Predator Civil War." I love that idea. Russ, what do you think?
Um, I don't know if I want to know that much about the Predators, Retro Nerd Girl. Like I said, it was tantalizing to get a glimpse of their society, but then when you start to boil it down, Predators have a society now. So does that mean we have, Predator commercials? Like do we have Predator television, and do we have Predator politicians, and do we have that? I always thought to myself, about the Predators, that I always imagined they had some sort of like feudal society where the vast majority of Yautja were sort of serfs and sort of like a warrior class. You had a warrior class and a serf class, and an overlord class. And I imagine that the overlords were the guys that go hunting, and the rest of them were just sort of left to do all of the work. That's what I always imagine. So it would be fun, but I don't know. I think Retro No Girls idea is quite a good one. Like, yeah, Predator Civil War, maybe an animated movie.
Yeah, and I
Maybe that would
imagine
work.
that the Predators, because of the nature of how they roll, so to speak,
Mm.
that they outgrew their home world because there was no more space. So they had to go to different worlds, and once they got to these different worlds, they had no choice but to fight to obtain a footing in that new world, and that's why they've become so.
I imagine so, but there is legion of expanded universe stuff about Yautjas and xenomorphs and stuff like that. I mean, I'm a big Aliens Predator fan, but I've barely scratched the surface of the lore about these clans, and I'm sure that there is an explanation for pretty much everything in Predator Society out there. Last thing I read was, I think it was called Blood and Stone, which was a crossover of Aliens, Predator, and Prometheus, and the engineers, and that was a really good comic actually. But I'm sure that seeking, you will find your answers to that one.
Well, that's good to know. And Stubble McShave says marketing nowadays in general seem to be more skewed towards social issues than what the movie actually is. Heath's Tabletop and Fantasy says, "Good morning." Well, good
Hello,
morning to
Heath.
you, Heath's Tabletop and Fantasy. I'm wondering what Tabletop and Fantasy is going on in your channel, because with a
Hmm.
name like that, you must have a channel, Heath. Certainly would be interested to find out. Bloodsport One wants to know what my favorite Predator movie is. It's Predators. followed by Alien versus Predator. And I guess once I watch Prey, that might be in the list of my faves. Russ, what about you?
Well, as I said earlier on, I don't think you can't touch the original Predator because that's the perfect movie in the same way that Die Hard is the perfect movie. But if we're talking sequels, honestly, I'm torn. Um, I don't know. Predators, or Prey are my second ones after the first one, and I can't decide at the moment. Prey is too new. I'm too enamored and in love with Prey at the moment for bringing much needed respect back to the franchise, for not having a political message. Yeah, all right, look, it's a bit girl power. Fair enough, fine. I don't mind that it's a bit girl power. It's not in your face. There's no messaging, and I'm in love with it because of that. So maybe I need some perspective. I think Predators might come out on top, maybe, but at this stage, I'm too enamored with it to make a call.
Well, that's interesting. And let's see, as more films come out, which I imagine they will, Russ, how our perspectives change in regards to where the newer films, which seem to be a home run now, or at least an improvement over some of the things we've been seeing recently. Outcast Creative, hi Lance, says the younger generations are not so interested in these franchises. Predator Dark Ages fan film was written and directed by a member of the Outcast Creative. Well,
That
that
film
is
looks like it had a budget of like $10 million. That is a fucking brilliant fan film. I had no idea that was an Outcast Creative production. Me and Sam watched it when it first came out. Actually, it was released on YouTube. It's fairly long. It's a short, but it's of a decent length. The concept of Predator Dark Ages is superb. The acting is superb. The special effects are superb. They use a lot of, I think, if I'm thinking of the right, yeah, they use great use of drone shots and things like that. It is a really, really, really excellent fan film. It's up there with Bucketheads in terms of quality. And if you haven't seen it and you're a Predator fan, you've missed out. It is brilliant.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know, the Outcast Creative are a group of people who are in the industry. They make films, they write screenplays. They also have workshops for actors in the United Kingdom, and they also do industry interviews on their channel, The Outcast Creative. Lance is currently here in Florida, and I'm glad you're here, Lance. And you said you're going to check it out when you get home, because I know if you're here on vacation, Lance, you don't have time to necessarily watch anything, but it's always good to hear from you, Lance. And guys, definitely check out the Outcast Creative. I think Tom Jr. Jackson put the link earlier in the chat today. Tom is recommending 13 Lives. It is kind of a sad story, but a happy one, bittersweet story about
It
these.
was a tragic event, wasn't it?
It really was a tragic event, Russ. These children who are just on a fun cave exploration. We've all visited these different caves. You go to the canyons or the crystal canyons or whatever it is. You go on these excursions, and unfortunately, they get trapped. And these guys, I don't know who these men were, but they do everything in their power to save these kids' lives, even one of them perishing in the process
That's
to
right,
get
yeah.
those kids out, guys. This is a tearjerker. If you want to see something that certainly will grab your attention. Just before I get to that, we have another person, LDG, hashtag free the net. Hello, how are
Hello,
you?
welcome. I don't think I've seen you here before. Welcome to Positive Fandom, our channel. I'm just cluttering the place up, but this is a great place
No.
to be.
That is not true, guys. Check out Russ's website, russwhitfield.com, to check out his novels, Gladiatrix. Do you call them the Gladiatrix series, or is there a different name for
No,
them all?
I think it's called the Gladiatrix series. Like, I haven't written a book for so many years now, but the website's, like, as I say, it's 1,000 years out of date. So, but you can still order the books on there. Should you? I had someone write to me a couple of days ago about those those books. It's quite funny after all those years to get an email from somebody talking about them. So it was quite sweet, really.
Well, guys, definitely check out Russ's website. It's in the description of the video here when you look at the bottom where it says what's today's thing is, but you can find his books at russellwhitfield.com, everybody. Mark Goes Blind Gaming says, we've had an Alien versus Predator crossover. I would love to see King Conan versus Predator, and then we would get an Arnold Schwarzenegger return. Well, you know what, Mark Goes Blind Gaming, I would like to see? I'd like to see another version of the video game that they made called Alien Isolation Part 2 or whatever they want to call it, because that was the most incredible experience I've ever had playing a game in what I consider the alien world. This is
Yeah.
Alien. You were part of it. I've never had an experience like this game. I don't remember who made it. I've played the game so many times over and over and over again. I watched the walkthroughs over and over again. What a fantastic concept. We need another game
Well, I tell you what, we
like
do need it.
that.
If we're going to go down the Predator route, what they should have done and what they never did, you're talking of games, was the Aliens versus Predator games, which featured colonial marines fighting aliens and predators. It was just the obvious thing to do. Now I know that with the first AVP film, made by the much maligned Paul W.S. Anderson. I don't know why everybody hates this guy. He makes it. I love him. I think he's brilliant. He just makes entertaining movies. But I do know that the concept that he had for the original AVP movie was not what they allowed him to make in the end. I know that, the obvious choice is Colonial Marines. Everybody knows that. Joel Silver nixed that, and Anderson was basically hired because they knew that he makes beautiful looking films. Certainly did at the time anyway, with Event Horizon, things like that, for cheap. So AVP was made on a budget in a warehouse in Prague, and it looks pretty damn good for what it is. I don't think, and Anderson is a fanboy. He's a massive Aliens and Predator fanboy. You've only got to look at Event Horizon, which basically takes place in the Alien verse. The aesthetic is there, and it's a good film, but I don't think it's the film that he wanted to make. Oh, Stubble's going. Bye, Stubble.
And this is the and thank you for sharing that, Russ. This is the Outcast Creative link. It's in the description, guys. So please do check out the Outcast Creatives. It's really an extraordinary website that they have and YouTube channel. So certainly do check that out. We have some other people who have jumped in. Joker Voice is here. Hi, Joker Voice. He recommends RRR. I have seen that film. It's fantastic. And Lorraine and I have a review of it on her channel. If you want to watch our watch party, it's almost 4 hours long, guys. So prepare yourself for one of the most incredible things you've ever seen. The Mighty Orbots is here. Hi, the Mighty Orbots. The Mighty Orbot says that he or she says they haven't seen Prey yet. So we certainly do encourage you to see it. Tom Jr. Jackson has also given us the link to Tabletop and Fantasy channel. So definitely check them out, guys. If you want to look at cool tabletop games and fantasy stuff, certainly do that as well. I'm kind of going backwards here. I know there was one other person. Woodrow is here. Hello, Woodrow. He says, and that's what the anti-woke people miss. Yes, studios will use it to grandstand, but more often than not, they pick Denzel or Gemma Chan because they want the best audition. Well, that's kind of interesting. And I know I kind of missed some of the comments here, but I did just want to zip through a little bit just so I don't miss people, because you guys have so many interesting comments through here. And we certainly do. I can't get to everybody, but I do absolutely need to mention and say hello to everyone. Insurance Detectives. Hello, Insurance Detectives. Maybe the solution is to create a character that has a fresh and decent political perspective overall. No one has tried that yet. And that might be a character that would be quite controversial, because how do you know which one would be that? But it would be great. Why not have something? I always thought that was something that Star Trek did all the time. But I don't know if that's the interpretation everybody has about Star Trek. But it seemed to me that they always presented other views. And I remember very specifically, there was one episode of Star Trek where they wanted to move people from where they were originally. And it kind of felt like, you were kind of pushing them off of their land situation. And the solution was that they left the Federation. The Trekkies who are watching this know the episode I'm talking about. The group of people left the Federation and decided to go under, another political group so they could stay where they were. And I think what it actually showed is that, hey, guess what? Not everybody is going to be able, to stay under the same situation that you think they should stay under. They have to make the best decision for themselves.
Yeah, that's
So
sort of like a comment that we think that in the West, we think democracy is, the sort of least worst of all political systems, and it's the one that we think that everybody should have. But perhaps it's not appropriate for every country in the world, even if we think that it is. Afghanistan would be a great example of that, wouldn't it? It's like, well, we try to impose democracy, and the vast majority of Afghans have lived the same way that they've lived for hundreds of years and couldn't give a hoot. But that's that's what I think anyway.
absolutely, and it's something to think about. And I respect your guys' political opinions. Sometimes I see other political shows, and I would love to comment, but I know as soon as I throw out my political opinion, boy, there would be like a full upheaval, because I change my mind a lot about what I think, because situations change. So it's like each one is different. So then now you have to kind of, like, for me, I have to reconstruct and figure out. And I already know that most people are not going to agree with my political opinion. So I go in there knowing, I think it's interesting for a lot of these stories that are actually political, because one could argue that Andor, since it's a senator who's one of the main characters, Mon Mothma,
yeah,
is a senator. And that's a political position, so there is some element to it. But I think I like casting Andor even more because he doesn't care. He's like, yeah, whatever. And I kind of like that. It's just,
well, he's a foot soldier, isn't he? Essentially. I mean, even in Rogue One, he's he might be elite, but he's not a mover and a shaker politically, like in the same way that Mon Mothma or Leia Organa is.
Yes, and Dick Sargent York says Orville tries to show the plus and minus of both sides. Yeah, I mean, this is a good point, and I think that's what Star Trek did for a long time. And then they went quite skewed into one direction.
But they've this is Rob has spoken about this, and I guess I'm imagining everybody who's watching this watched Rob's show. That the Kurtzman has come out and said that Star Trek, modern Star Trek, exists as a platform for his personal political messages. He's actually said that, so yeah, that's what it is.
Thank you, Woodrow, for mentioning it. It was the Maquis Native American storyline. They did look like Native Americans. I'm not going to lie. They looked remarkably similar. I'm not going to say they were Native Americans. Let's just say when you watch the show, they look incredibly similar to Native Americans. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying that they resemble them. And they joined Cardassia as a solution. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, they made a decision that was right for them. So I think that exploring that might be considered very controversial. And as the Outcast, as Lance says, yes, that was a good episode. But it proves a point that, there isn't a one-size solution fits all, as you mentioned, Russ. Bloodsport 1 is watching Steel Dawn. I remember
that popped up on YouTube. That's a freebie on YouTube now. I saw that pop up in my feed the other day. What a legend!
I love it.
Talking of Patrick Swayze, did you hear that they're remaking Roadhouse? Doug Liman and Gyllenhaal.
If they could find somebody like Patrick Swayze, Russ, if they could find somebody who has that charisma and appeal and has that quality, I would say go for it. Just go for it.
Well, they've got Jake. It's a thing. It's Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be playing Dalton. I don't know who's going to be playing Wade Garrett. I don't know what a modern retelling of Roadhouse has to say that the original Roadhouse didn't. And I was talking about cringing dog syndrome. I'm already cringing away from a Roadhouse remake. I'm just worried about what statements they're going to want to make about males who are bouncers. Again, I hope I'm wrong.
Well, Bloodsport 1, yes. I loved Steel Dawn. I loved how he couldn't plant whatever those crops were, and the little girl had to show him. And it's pretty much filmed out in the desert in California, I'm guessing, or in the Sahara somewhere. And, they have to figure out how they're going to live in this new world. I loved Cyborg and all those post-apocalyptic 1980s films. I love them all.
I haven't seen Steel Dawn for years. I don't think I've seen Steel Dawn since the 80s, actually.
Well, Patrick Swayze made the film. Like it was kind of like those Jean-Claude Van Damme films where you were watching because Jean-Claude Van Damme wasn't. He was in one called Cyborg, right? Or
He
was it a
was,
different?
yeah, and they were all named after guitars. So
Yeah.
his name was Gibson Rickenbacker, and the baddie was called Fender Tremolo, and all that. And it was just like, if you play, because I was in a heavy metal band in the 80s, and it's like, why are they named after bass guitars? This is ridiculous.
Well, what actor right now is like Patrick Swayze? Can anybody find somebody like that man? He certainly was a very special person.
And he was genre crossing, wasn't he? Really, because he was in, he was part of the Brat Pack, so he was in that one with, Pony Boy, the Outsiders, with Rob Lowe and Tom Cruise when they were all young and all that. And then he went off and he did Red Dawn with the Brat Pack, and then he was
Yes.
an action star. He was in that film with Bill Paxton, was his brother, and Steel Dawn was a science fiction movie. Red Dawn, as I say. Then he crossed over into romance films, Dirty Dancing, and then he was in Ghost. I mean, he covered the gamut.
He was also in. If you already mentioned it, the one where he's a surfer. What was it called, Russ?
Oh, Point Break. No, I hadn't. I completely forgotten about Point Break. Yeah, with Keanu Reeves.
Oh, that was so good.
What a guy.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is, and so Tom's Red Dawn is when they get invaded, and it's Russia that invades, right?
It's the Russians and the
So
Cubans. Yeah.
Steel Dawn is a post-apocalyptic 1980s film where they're trying to survive, like Mad Max kind of thing.
It's water, isn't it? They're fighting over water, I think.
That's right. They are fighting over water. And it's so good. I don't know if and thank you, Darth Plato, for the correct spelling. The Maquis, I guess the Maquis and Maquis could be singular or plural or whatever it is. That was such a great episode, and I think it proves the point perfectly in regards to someone out from the outside deciding on something that was appropriate for someone else when they don't have they really shouldn't be doing that. Dick Sargent York says Sam Elliott got his own swag. Yes,
man, he's a legend. They should just bring him back in the Roadhouse remake, but they won't. I fear what will happen to the Wade Garrett equivalent in the new Roadhouse film.
You make a good point, Russ. He should be the senior owner and
he should be, but he won't be. So I don't know. Like I said, what has a 2023 Roadhouse got to tell us that the 1980s Roadhouse didn't?
Yes, and well, we're definitely have to get to that in a second. And they could make it about the political crap that's going on right now.
God, I hope
that
not.
Would be a good. Well,
I hope not. I hope not.
Well, what else would it be about?
Well, this is. You're right. This is my point. Is it going to be a study on toxic men? And it's like, no, just make your own bouncer movie then. Do your bouncer movie about toxic men, and don't call it Roadhouse. Don't sully the name of Roadhouse. But I rather fear that that's what they might do. But I could be completely wrong. It might be fucking epic, and we're all talking crap.
By the Outcast creatives. And Retro Narco says, I am not loving the idea of a Roadhouse remake. To be honest, who would play these roles? That's what I want to know. We don't have anybody as hot and as charismatic and who can, shake it like Patrick Swayze.
We do not, but they have released the main cast. So we know that Gyllenhaal is Dalton, and they've got a whole cast list. But they haven't assigned roles to the cast yet, or certainly when I looked at it, they hadn't. That was on Friday when I looked.
And I like Gyllenhaal. I like him very much. I think his sister is a fantastic actress, but I am not that convinced that that's going to be anything that I'm going to run to see. Tom Jr. Jackson says, are you enjoying the content? Please support Positive Fandom. Guys, please subscribe to my channel and please watch some of my videos so I can get those watch hours up so I can get monetized. I so appreciate all of you coming to watch the show. The Hidden says, did you read the online fan notes about Dutch dying from radiation exposure and relying on predator tech? Is this what you were talking about, Russ, to survive, or how Dutch's DNA was used to create the first Terminator?
Don't know about the first Terminator, but this was a while ago. The Hidden this is the thing I saw on Acid Glow, and basically it's off the back of a computer game, and they got Arnold Schwarzenegger back to tell Dutch's story, and yeah, he was dying from radiation, and they did use Predator technology or Predator blood or something like that, and what found out, it basically extended his life, and he's a man in his sort of 70s, but he's still as fit and as young as he was, as capable as he was when he was a younger man. That's all I can really remember about it. And he meets up with Agent Keys, and he's trying to track them down because he's just obsessed with predators and the effect they've had on his life, and they ruined his life. His life has become about the predator, much in the same way that Ripley's life became about the alien.
Thank you, Russ. The Hidden asked, did anyone here see the movie Don't Look Up? I did. I saw it and I loved it. And I love Jennifer Lawrence with her like, you guys have to pay attention. And then her professor, her hot, really hot Leonardo DiCaprio professor there, like kind of pimping himself out with the reporter. I'm like, this is great. This might be one of the best films ever made. I loved that film. I thought that it was entertaining. It was fun to watch this stuff, and may actually be a predictor of all our futures. So
maybe.
Don't Look Up. I'm not going to look up. What did you think? Did you see the film, Russ?
I haven't seen it, no.
Well, we also have Latrone laughing. Hi, Latrone. How are you today? Latrone talks about Patrick Swayze in North and South. And guess what? I watched that series.
God, yeah. We had it here in England as well. We had it. It came on ITV, yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, he falls in love with this woman, and, technically speaking, it's illegal for him to marry her because she's, has a mixed background, a racially mixed background. It was wonderful, him in the uniform and, looking all strong and, doing the right thing. This was he made it fun. It had a certain level of drama that he had. He had so much chemistry with the lead actress whose name I don't remember. But boy, I did watch it, and I thought he was wonderful in that too. Patrick Swayze really seemed like he could do no wrong on the stage and in film. So this is where it's going to be hard to kind of follow him. And you're right, Dick Sargent, York, he is a great actor. Gyllenhaal's a good actor. His sister is a fantastic actress. I really love them. Mario Lopez is not too happy with the Roadhouse remake. He's totally against it.
Yeah. I'm with Mario on this. Make your own bouncer movie. Why are we gonna what value add does the Roadhouse brand bring to a film about a bouncer? Like it's not like it's Alien or Predator, or Star Wars. I mean, it's a cult classic from the 1980s. There was going to be a remake of Roadhouse with Ronda Rousey in it a few years ago, which never took off.
And something, guys, and thank you, Retro Nerd Girls, who says, I loved Don't Look Up To. It was so good. It was so good. Yeah, I don't know what excited me more was Jennifer Lawrence or the idea of Leonardo DiCaprio being a professor. I really loved him in those. They put him in that, those suit jackets with the patches on the elbows, like I'm loving this look of Leonardo DiCaprio. It's not him like in real life, but I just love the thought of him being like that. And Darth Plato makes me chuckle when he says, if you remake Roadhouse,
be polite.
And Zachariah 315 says, howdy, y'all. Well, howdy, y'all. Zachariah 315. It is good to see you guys. We're wrapping up the show here. As Dick Sergeant York says, Jennifer Lawrence is out of Leo's league. Well, you know something? Ethically speaking, she shouldn't have anything to do with her professor. That's her boss. That's her PI, the private investigator of the lab she works in. But honestly, when she graduates, she can do whatever she likes. Russ, where can people find you?
Well, first of all, Sal, I can't believe we spoke so much about Prey. We didn't get to the shake-up at Warner Brothers Discovery, the cancellation of Batgirl, what's happening with Henry Cavill, what's happening with we didn't get to talk about any of that. Maybe there'll be more news next week. We can talk about that. Where can people find me? As I said earlier on, I've got a website that's 1,000 years out of date, russellwhitfield.com, and you can always email me at contact@russellwhitfield.com. I'm on Facebook, but I hardly ever sort of say anything. I just use it to follow bits and pieces. But more importantly, where can we find you?
Guys, you can always find me here on Positive Fandom, my YouTube channel. I also stream on Twitch as well as Odysee. On Monday nights, you can catch me on Toxic Femininity on Midnight's Edge with Lorena Creole. On Tuesdays, you can find me streaming on Wednesdays and Thursdays, you can find me streaming also on the 1/6 Scale Man Network, either on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels. This Tuesday, ironically, I am going to be reviewing Prey on Lorena Creole's channel with Cameron Pasha. So I better watch this film so I can do the review, right?
Mm-hmm.
On Thursday at 5 p.m., I will be watching The Terminal List on the Toxic Male Appreciation show that I do with Lorena. On Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern, I will be on Midnight's Edge in the morning with Tom Connors and Andre. Of course, in the evenings on Friday and Saturday, very late at night, you can find me on the Post Geek Singularity with Robert Meyer Burnett on our show Midnight Musings. And of course, on Sundays at 10:30 a.m., you can find me here on our show, Sunday Brunch, where we do all the Parley in the fandom. You guys, if you're creators or you want to promote something, do put those links in the description. Let Tom know so we can let people know what you're up to, guys. And please do watch some of my videos so I can get my watch hours up so I can get to my monetization.
Yeah, please do, guys.
And thank you so much for everybody who has been so generous, especially Mr. Simpkins Jr., especially Martino Solmoni, and of course, Double Mashave, who have all contributed to the channel. Thank you so much. Bloodsport 1 has made me chuckle. He says that Roadhouse remake is useless. You're going to have a geek as a bouncer. Patrick was a cool dude.
He sure was.
You know, I don't think Gyllenhaal is the same feeling as Swayze.
If it was me, if you are gonna go there, get Scott Adkins. Literally.
Oh my God, that's the answer. That's the answer.
I know, right? I know, but
that's
no.
the answer.
Yes, it's glaringly obvious who should. If you're gonna,
you found it. He looks good with his shirt off. This is it. It should be. And why not make it in the UK rather than here? It could put a new twist on this whole thing. Make it in the UK.
Yeah, you could be taking on soccer hooligans. It would be brilliant.
Yeah. Oh my God, Russ, you've just done it. You've done it. I mean, that sounds. I can't wait to see what happens when all those soccer hooligans come down the street and they just bust open into the pub or wherever it is, and they just want to take down, Atkins, and they don't know he's in there. They think it's just like mom and pop who are behind the bar there, and it's not. He's like, we've had this pub in our family for 300 years, but now the hooligans are getting out of control. And then freaking Scott Adkins rolls into town. I don't know how he'd roll into town, but let's just say he rolls into town and he's like, yeah, this is wrong. This is wrong. This, like, I don't know what he would say, but this would be amazing. And he'd have to call his friends in. Who would he call to assist, Russ? Who would help Scott Adkins fight off the baddies?
He'd have to call in Gary Daniels. He'd have to call in Ray Park, who was Darth Maul, right? And Gary Daniels is a eminent British martial artist. Has been working in Hollywood for many years in lots of B movies. He's a great bloke. I had a couple of beers with Gary once. He's a really nice man, and he is still jacked to this day.
So what would it be called? It wouldn't be called Roadhouse. It'd be called,
I don't know. What would we? the Boozer or something like that, right?
I love it. I love it. Let's do it. Let's
I'm going to get right now. The keyboard's right here.
Well, Guys, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Retro Nerd Girl says this show needs to be 5 hours long. Just kidding. What a good time, and have a great week, everyone. Thank you, Retro Nerd Girl. We so appreciate you. We so appreciate everybody who has stopped by, including you, Ryan B. Hi, Ryan B. I don't think I said hi to you, but I just want to say hello. Hope you are well. And on behalf of myself, and Russ Whitfield, thank you for coming out and joining us in the chat and the conversation as well. Wherever you are and wherever you may be in the world and in the galaxy, always do remember to be kind, everybody. Take care.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.